Hello, and welcome to New Life Show on AUK Radio. I'm your host, Yinka Omishore. On this show, we aim to create a community for you, our listeners and viewers, on health and wellness. However, we're not here to diagnose, neither are we here to cure nor to heal. Whatever we provide here is for general informational purposes only. Please do speak to your healthcare provider in the first instance. So on today's show, we are going to follow on our heart health matters. In the last show on the heart health, I read a little bit about a friend of mine who was on high blood pressure medication, but has since come off her meds using lifestyle. So with me today is Olaide Aderemi, and we will be asking her some questions to help you know that it is possible to reverse lifestyle diseases and how to do it. So please come on stage, Mrs. Olaide Aderemi.
Hello, everyone. As Yinka said, my name is Olaide Adiremi, and I'm so glad to be here because any opportunity for me to share my story, any opportunity for me to create awareness, I always grab it. So I'm happy to be here to share my story as a health advocate, helping people prevent and reverse lifestyle diseases using food as medicine. So that is what I do.
Welcome, and thank you for accepting my invitation to come on the show. Like I was telling our audience, that I did read a little bit about your testimonial the last time we had a show about our hearts. So today, you're live in the studio to share your testimony and, of course, to encourage us and tell us a bit more about what you do in the community to help people like yourself and myself as well, of course. Okay, so my first question to you is, can you share with the viewers your journey to plant-based living?
I wasn't always plant-based. So like so many people, I had my meat, my chicken, love to eat my meat and chicken and all those things. But everything changed for me in November 2018. So November 2018, I lost my brother. My brother died of a heart attack. And my brother was on high blood pressure tablets when he died of a heart attack. So that was when I started questioning my lifestyle, I would say, because I can remember when we were told that my brother died and we went to his flat, then in Luton. We got into the flats and we actually saw his tablets there on the table. And I was like, even though he was on these tablets, he still died of a heart attack, which was very, very sad. Um, so for me, that was where I started thinking that I had to do something about my health, about my lifestyle, because I was on high blood pressure tablets as well. At that point, I was already on it for about 13 years. And really, you would think, well, most people think being on tablets help, but you can't be on tablets alone. You have to really change your lifestyle. And for me, that was where my vegan journey actually started.
So just from that, you, of course, it was heartbreaking losing your brother, and you have turned this pain into purpose, which is great. I know. So how would you say, I think you touched on it a little bit, how would you say your brother's passing changed your perspective on health?
Like I mentioned, taking medication is definitely not enough. So if I use my brother as an example, because I use my brother all the time because it was because of him that I really started this journey. So I always have to mention him in one way or the other.
Mm.
So for me, being on medication, you would think that, even if you were going to die from anything, you wouldn't die of a heart attack, if you know what I mean. because you're already on medication, which
Yeah.
should be helping you with that aspect of your heart health. So obviously, it wasn't working for my brother, and I didn't think it was going to work for me. So after my brother died, so I have three brothers. So the one of the other brothers said to me, he lives in the States, and he said, "Oh, I actually watched a documentary which I think you should watch." And the documentary tells you how you can prevent and reverse lifestyle diseases. So that was the start of my journey. I watched the documentary, and from there, like when you watch documentary on Netflix or all these platforms, they, introduce you to other ones at the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
So that was how I started my research. I watched a lot of documentaries. I went online, started digesting a lot of information because I wanted to be well informed on what I wanted to do. So it was through research, through watching documentaries, and also, very importantly for me as a woman of faith, praying about what my next steps would be. So that was how my journey started.
So, mentioning I know you said you watched a few other documentaries, and it seemed like this particular one resonated with you most. So, what would you say about this particular documentary that resonated most with you?
So that documentary you're talking about,
Mm,
um, I believe is Plan Pure Nation.
that's one, yes.
So in that documentary, they had people that had lifestyle diseases, and they actually documented how they started. So they showed us what they were, the medication they were taking, all the diseases they had, and everything they were going through was documented at the beginning of their journey.
Mm,
And then we could see them progressing when they were having their tests and how their numbers were improving. And I was like, oh my God, this is just happening because they changed their nutrition. To be
mm,
honest, it wasn't as if they were really doing a lot of exercising, but the main thing was the nutrition
mm,
that they changed, and that resonated so loudly with me. And the other thing that resonated with that documentary was the fact that the producers tried their best to change the legislation in the
mm,
states, but they couldn't. You know, they just couldn't. I don't know why people don't want to heal themselves using food as medicine, to be honest. And for me, it was like an eye opener to say that each person just has to take control. You can't wait for any government or anybody. You have to take control yourself.
mm, mm.
So that was it for me.
Yeah, well said. Thank you. And it's interesting you talk about the fact that the makers of this particular documentary tried to change the legislation. I suppose is to encourage people to eat more plants. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. I mean, aside from that as well, even research is telling us more and more we need to eat more plant-based foods because our bodies or the cells in our bodies recognizes the nutrients better in this pure food, should I say, right? So another question to you is, how did you transition from awareness, knowledge to action? What were the first steps to your plant-based living?
Okay. So, as mentioned, I did all my research, I prayed, and the first thing I did, like anybody knows, if you're on medication, you have to inform your doctor. So, the
Absolutely.
first thing I did was to schedule an appointment with my doctor. I went to see my doctor. I remember, I told her this is what I want to do. She didn't even know what I was talking about. She was like, plant-based diet. She didn't have a clue. So, I just tried to tell her what it was. At that point in time, I didn't have all the information myself. It was just all the research I did. So I gave her the information I had, and I said I was going to start this diet, and my main purpose for it is to try and reverse my high blood pressure. And she was like, okay, but make sure you're taking your measurements. So even though I changed my diet, I was still taking my medication and I was still trying to use the blood pressure machine to take my numbers, because she advised me to record my numbers so that when I come back to her, we're able to look at the numbers before and after and be able to see whether there's been any improvement or not. So that was the first thing I did, informing my doctor before sitting down to do a plan of how I'm going to be eating, considering the fact that, I'm a mother of two, married with my husband, and my family are not into plant-based. So I had to really sit down to plan my meals and to know what I was going to be doing going forward.
I chuckle at that because, like you, I've been on the plant-based journey for, wow, probably 20 years now. And I remember my daughter's always saying to me that I became vegan before it became fashionable. And also, I always gravitate towards people like you, that's like, oh yeah, someone that eats like me. And it's amazing that, there's so much more about this now. Yes, it's fashionable, but it's also fashionably good for our health to eat more plants. So I think you touch on a bit of what I'm going to ask next. So your doctor, when you started, like you said, when you went to meet her, she didn't know what plant-based diet was. So in effect, you had to educate your doctor, right?
I had to, because actually one of my brothers is a medical doctor. And I remember he told me that in medical school, they don't really do much on nutrition. And he said you will notice that when you go to like a doctor or to a surgery, they usually have dietitians and nutritionists there. So anything to do with diet, they will refer you to a dietitian or a nutritionist. So the doctors don't really know a lot about nutrition. So I wasn't really surprised that my doctor did not even know what I was talking about. And I think this is one of the reasons, if you want to do anything to do with your health or whatever, it's good for you to do a lot of research, educate yourself, arm yourself, so that even if you want to go and speak to your doctor, will know you know what you're talking about. Even if they don't know, at least they'll know that yes, you've done a measure of research and you know what you're talking about, and would be able to support you on your journey.
Thank you. So being on blood pressure medication, tell us a bit about how changing your diet impact on your health. For example, was it like you had more energy, you slept better? What was it? And I think you can also touch on some of the foods that you eat.
So when I started my journey, like you said, even though I was eating plants, I was actually losing weight. I wasn't overweight or anything like that, but one of the first things I noticed was I was losing weight, and I was eating a lot. So I wasn't restricting myself to maybe 2,000 calories or anything, because as part of the research I did, we were advised to eat till you're full.
That's right.
And because what we're eating is not fats, and even if you're eating fats, you're eating healthy
Good,
fats anyway.
healthy
So
fats, yeah.
you're not supposed to put on weight or just go fat by eating just plants. So I ate to be full, you know.
Your nutrition and your exercise. Yeah, so already you're educating our listeners on some of the lifestyle habits that we can incorporate to help us to stay healthy. Because my usual finishing line when I do the show is, let's get wealthy together by being healthy. And these are some of the ways that we can do it. And you mentioned about, re-educating and unlearning some of the things that we've learned. And I think that's vitally important, which is why this particular show on AUK Radio came about, to educate, to create awareness on many of these health issues that people suffer from. Because when we are armed with the right information, like you said, going to your doctor, you have the information, you're also in that way closing that healthcare inequality, because you come there to your doctor, you're prepared, they're listening, and you can work together. That also can lead to things like early intervention to prevent the situation getting worse. Okay, so that's some of the things we are suggesting to our viewers and listeners to take on board. And Lyda, let me ask you, I know one thing about you, which I also have as well. We don't really like spending much time in the kitchen, do we? So what
No.
do you? So, what are some of the things or foods that you cook, or that you make, or that you juice that that helps to keep you healthy? Share with our viewers,
So
please.
for me, like you said, the kitchen is not my strength at all. So I thank God that my husband cooks. So my husband cooks a lot. So for me, it doesn't really affect my family in that way because he cooks. But because I do not love cooking, what I have done is to look for really simple meals. When I say simple meals, if the ingredients are more than like 6, 7, I'm not interested because you just lose me, to be honest. So I look for simple meals to do. And for example, in our Black communities, a lot of our foods are actually plants. It's just the way we make it.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, one of the things that I eat a lot is beans because all I need to do is just, even if I am using, for example, if it's fresh beans, I'm washing the beans, I'm dumping it in my pressure cooker, adding my herbs and spices and everything to it. And in like 15, 20 minutes, it is ready. So I can always have that beans. I can have it with sourdough bread, or I can make some quinoa as well and have my beans with it. Same thing with lentils, cook my lentils, have it with some potatoes or sweet potatoes. In, have my tofu. I can make scrambled tofu with sourdough bread, scrambled tofu with potatoes. Any simple plant food is what I go for. Most of the time in the mornings, what I have is my porridge, which is very easy to make as well. So, or you can have a smoothie, very easy to make.
Yeah.
When you're having your smoothie, you're adding some of your green leafy vegetables to that. Just any simple meals that you think you can do. And there's no one size all. You have to look at what you want. If so, for example, somebody that loves to cook now is not bothered about 100 ingredients. They're ready to go and cook it. So whatever ticks for you is what you should do. But for people like us, we go with the simple meals because we don't like to cook.
Staying in the kitchen is not our forte. No, we're not ashamed to acknowledge. We're not ashamed to acknowledge that, are we?
No.
We still eat, and we still feel good. Yeah. Thank you so much for that.
This is
So,
what I tell people. There's a lot to eat. There's so much food to eat. Seriously.
absolutely. So, a tricky one here now. Maybe not so tricky. So, for someone that likes their pounded yam, from our side of country, from the world we come from, pounded yam with our egusi, with the one where you have to pat the ocean of the palm oil and all of that. How would you say for that kind of person to cook the vegetable in a healthiest way?
So this is where education comes in. So yam is good. Yam is a plant.
That's right.
Pounded yam. So there are two ways Africans do their pounded yam. So the first one is boiling your yam and then actually putting it. So some people put it in their food processor and it turns into a pounded yam, but which is the healthy one, as opposed to you buying the powder form, which they would have added some other things to it to preserve it. So I would say if you like your pounded yam, you can still eat your pounded yam. Just make sure you're doing the yam in your house. You're cleaning the yam, boiling the yam, putting it in your food processor, and whatever vegetable. So, for example, if I'm going to be using spinach stew with my yam, for example, I don't actually use oil. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Personally, I don't use it. I mean, when I did my research, I just thought it wasn't going to be good for my journey. So I omit oil in my food. So, but there's a way I still make my spinach stew. and it's still very nice. It doesn't have any oil or anything like that. I make it and I put, different kinds of mushroom in it that makes it really nice. So I'm not really missing that. You can put your mushrooms in it. You can even put tofu in it. There's a way you can,
Yes.
make your tofu that will make it chewy. Like if you like meat, you want it chewy. There's a way you can make it and put it in there, and it's still healthy. You're still having a nice, pounded yam with your spinach or efo stew, whatever they call it. So
Yeah.
it's still it can still be done.
Wow. Do you want to explain to our listener, for those that don't know what tofu is, what is that?
So tofu, I think, is made from soya.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what else to say. I think it's just made from soya, and that's it really. And you can do different things with it. So you can make scrambled tofu. So scrambled tofu can be compared to like scrambled eggs.
Eggs, yes.
So if an egg lover and you're thinking, oh, I'm not going to be eating eggs, so you can use tofu as a replacement. Make your scrambled tofu, and even if you want it to taste, which I haven't done before, but people say that if you want it to taste like scrambled eggs, you can add, I think it's some sort of black salt to it, and it gives you that egg flavor. I don't want any egg flavor. I'm happy to to just eat my scrambled tofu like that,
That's lovely.
So tofu can be made as scrambled, and it can be made as a meat substitute as well, because you're able to change the texture. So for example, if you freeze it first before using it, when you make it as a meat substitute, it's more chewy than when you don't freeze it and you make it as scrambled tofu. So there are different textures to it. And also you can use mushroom. I mean, we have so many varieties of mushroom that are chewy, that when you make them, you enjoy them, and then you also enjoy all the nutrients and the benefits from it.
Thank you for explaining to our listeners what tofu is and the different ways we can prepare and eat it. Thank you. Wow. I mean, we could go on and on and on today, but we have to call it quits here. I want to say a big thank you for coming on the show. And just before you leave, do you have any parting words for our listeners?
Um, Please, all I can say is just start small, no matter how little, like I explained before, to add more plants to your food. Start small, swap a meal. In fact, not even a whole meal. You can even swap your milk. Start off with, if you're using animal milk, change to any of, there's so many varieties of plant milks that you can change to. Try the variety and choose the one that works for you. So please, I would say start small, no matter how small. Your health is important. Your health is your wealth, and you have to take control of it. No other person can do it for you. You have to take control, and it is so possible by just taking one step at a time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Olade, your journey is truly inspiring, and it's a powerful reminder that we have control over our health more than we think we do. So once again, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for
Thank you for having me. I've
sharing.
had a lovely time. Thank you so much.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, dear listeners, thank you for being with us here today. And remember, our heart health matters. In fact, our health matters. Let us get wealthy together by staying healthy. And until next time, take care.